Hello, hello, hello. Dear friends, you are welcome to this live broadcast. We are broadcasting here on Facebook and also on YouTube. We're here to talk about the Anglophone Crisis. We're here to talk about the horrific attack in Kumba that happened on Saturday. The world and Cameroon woke up to the news that at least 8 children were killed, murdered, massacred in Kumba last Saturday. We're here with very refreshed minds, people who have an understanding on the Anglophone conflict. They are here to share their views with us, and we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear your contributions. We want to hear your comments. We are going to be talking about the Anglophone crisis so far and the way forward. But before we move further, I would like to remind us the genesis of this crisis to the best of my knowledge. In 1961, February 1961, British Southern Cameroons and British Northern Cameroon went to the polls in a referendum to decide if they are going to join Nigeria, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, or they are going to join La République du Cameroon. British Southern Cameroons voted to join French Cameroon. At that time, it was called La République du Cameroon. And British Northern Cameroon voted to join the Federal Republic of Nigeria. These two territories, formerly administered by British, decided to go to join people from different ends in a federal union. But that was the beginning of what we know today as the Anglophone crisis, and indeed, the separatist conflict. Why is that so? So many people in the former British Southern Cameroons felt disgruntled. They were unhappy, especially with the United Nations, which organized the referendum. Their reason that they had just two options, either to join Nigeria or join French. These two countries were just devils, and they needed to choose the best devil to follow. So, some people felt as though British Southern Cameroons was supposed to have an option to decide if they want to be an independent state, separate from either Nigeria or French Cameroon. British Southern Cameroons joined La République du Cameroon, like I mentioned earlier, as a federal state. But in 1972, the then president, Amadou Ahidjo, scrapped the federal system, disbanded the federal system, and made it in such a way that Cameroon was a unitary state. Most of the institutions in British Southern Cameroons were eroded, except for education and the judicial system. So many people at that time again felt as though this was a wrong choice to join what then was called La République du Cameroon. But if we need to fast forward, in 2016, lawyers and teachers protested on the streets of Amenda, Buea, Kumba, Kumbu. Why? They felt as though French was dominant in the now northwest and southwest region. Lawyers said French judges are sent to courts in the northwest and southwest. Teachers complain of French teachers who have no mastery of English teaching students who are supposed to be studying English. The crackdown by Cameroon security forces was brutal and harsh, rights groups said. In 2017, the protest became an armed conflict after what is known now as Amber Boys, Amazonian separatist fighters, killed a gendarme in the southwest. Today, the situation has gotten worse. Thousands of refugees are in Nigeria. There are many internally displaced people, and according to the last figures from the United Nations, more than 3,000 people have died from this conflict. It all began because some people felt as though they didn't belong where they are and they wanted more. I'm not an expert in this topic, but I have very refined minds, great panelists, people who have a critical mind, who have researched and they have done a lot of writings, investigations, and analysis on this topic. We are talking about the Kumba horrific attack on Saturday, which is as a result of the conflict in the Anglophone regions. So I'm going to introduce my guests to you. I will start with Tino. I will allow Tino to come on screen and talk to us and tell us his name, full names, what he does, and a brief uh, story about himself so we can kick from there.
All right, thank you, Blaise. Thank you for a very great introduction. So my name is Norbert Foy, but many people call me Tino. I'm basically I'm into a lot of things. I'm into media. I will have a company, a digital media company, and I do a lot of community work, especially with the Cameroonian youths. So actually, I also run a platform, a blog called Poi Social, and we have been covering the crisis since the beginning. And I've in so doing, I have had a lot of opportunity to learn about it and talk to many people about it and really analyze the situation. So I guess that's why I was invited on here. As a matter of fact, since the killings in Kumba, I have taken initiative to bring together the Anglophone youths in what we are calling, it was a name that was popularly suggested, and I decided to just take the steps since I have the resources and the people to be able to organize it. So I decided to go ahead and do it and just be a facilitator for now. So it's called the Anglophone Youth Congress, and we're currently getting people to sign up so that we can actually come together and have these discussions that we're having. And this is actually a beginning of that discussion that I hope that those people who have already signed up to the platform, we have in under 48 hours, we have over 2,000 people who have signed up, and we have over 800 people who have already registered on the website. And
Okay. Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
so,
I think people can go to your page and find more information about that. Is that correct?
yeah, exactly. I'm just trying to explain
Great.
why I guess I've been called on this platform. Yeah.
Great. Great.
Okay.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, bro. I
All right.
appreciate that, and we look forward to getting your analysis on the situation.
Yeah.
Our next person we are going to introduce is Commy Mussa. Oh, hello, Commy.
Hi, Blaise. Good evening.
Thank you. Kindly introduce yourself to us.
My name is Comfort Musa. I am a journalist, and I am also the founder of a women's empowerment platform for voices and agency. It's called Sister Speak 237, and I am a social worker, very committed in the sectors of disability rights, social inclusion, and access.
Thank you. Great. Daniel, hello.
uh, Thank you for hosting this today. I am Daniel Tar. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm based in London, and I run a media and entertainment company uh, around UK, Europe, and Sub-Saharan Africa. Well, in
Thank you.
terms of being on the platform, I'm here to really one, get a lot of awareness out there for international communities as to why we need to hear what's happening in these regions.
Thank you very much. Good to have you. Eyong, hi. Let's hear from you. Good to see you.
Hello, Blaise. My name's Eyong Enoh. For the most people who are into football, they know that I've been a vice captain of the Cameroon national team. And a couple of years ago, many people watched me play in Champions League with Ajax. At the moment, I'm studying sports management as a football educator and also as a sports manager. I'm into sports agency as well. I'm is also into mentoring, into relationship, and also coaching work. So that's a little briefly into what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay,
Thank you for inviting me on the platform as well.
great. So, for those watching, please kindly share with your friends, family. We want the message to go out there. Kindly share the video to all the social media platforms that you can remember. My own name is Blaise Eyong. I'm a journalist. I'm a reporter, and I'm coming to you live from the city of Kumba, where the horrific attack happened. Guys, so let's start with you, Tino. What were your thoughts and feelings when you heard the news that these children have been attacked, and when you saw the videos? How did that make you feel?
I mean, every time they talk about it, like tears come to my eyes because for me it was really just for me it was like I couldn't understand what's going on. Like I come from a family where I grew up under love and care for somebody to. I mean, I'm someone that talks a lot on media, and I'm looking at this kid. I criticize a lot. I'm looking at this kid that doesn't know anything, didn't say anything, didn't provoke anybody, and the kid's brain is lying out, and I'm like, this. What more of me? Like this kid has done nothing. Like, does that mean that we don't matter? The human life doesn't matter to these people anymore? Like, and for me, it was just like it was the end for me. It was like I am not with any separatist force. I'm not with any government forces because you guys failed to protect those kids. All of you guys are saying that you're there to fight and protect the people, but that was a clear case of none of you were there for these kids when they needed you the most. And for me, it was my breaking point. Like, it is over. We have to end this war. That's for me. It was just that. Like, and since then, I've basically dropped everything I'm doing, and that is all what I'm working on right now. I'm really just deploying my resources. I'm very sick. I've been sick for like 2 weeks, but I'm like having a pumping headache right now. But I'm really just. We have to do everything we have to do. This has to stop right now. Like, we cannot continue living like a human life is just something like a mango on a tree that you can be passing by and just shoot down. It is not acceptable. I don't know what kind of people are existing in this world, but this is crazy. It is madness. It is beyond imagination. I don't even care what you're fighting for. It doesn't matter after that. I don't care whatever you sign. It doesn't matter. Stop killing. That's really my position at this point in time. Stop the killings. It's enough.
Okay, Mr. Eyong, can we hear from you? What were your immediate thoughts when you saw the videos? Because a lot of people were moved, I mean, in and out of Cameroon when they saw the videos of these children. How did that make you feel?
Well, honestly, Bless, I didn't really have the courage to really watch the video, nor to even look at the pictures. I'm a dad of 5 kids. I've seen different horrific situations and read different things, but there's just something about this particular one that I couldn't wrap my head around. I couldn't sleep. I had no appetite. I don't know. It was one of the toughest. I was just wondering what's happening with me. I've never ever felt in my whole life like this, and it was a big blow. And when I saw some of the pictures of the kids, I couldn't continue looking at the other ones. The thought in my mind was like, "This is the future. We are killing the future. We are killing our future." And for me, that was like Tino said. That's the breaking point. The moment we the leaders, we, the fathers, the brothers, we start killing our own future, then we have come to that point where something has to shift radically. And I think that's why we're in this platform here to speak. Like, this has to stop. This has to end. And probably my voice has been out there, but not as loud as it's supposed to be. And for me, like, this was a clarion call. Like, you know what? You have to size double your trumpet. And it's not about who is right, who is wrong. It's about protecting these lives. And it has to stop by every means. I was like, if we didn't have a gun, we didn't have a gun at all, we should be talking now. The fact that we have access to armories and guns in our hands, that's why we can talk. So the first thing for me is like, every gun needs to be put away. Every armory needs to be put away. Then we can begin to talk, because that's where it has to stop.
Okay, great. We're going to come to suggestions. For now, let me hear from Daniel. Daniel, how did that make you feel when you saw the videos, pictures of these kids shattered, destroyed as animals?
Oh, Blaise. I'm just talking about it is I get so emotional about about these are children we're talking about. These are kids. These are infants. These are people who have dreams in them. These are people who have they're just looking forward to what life has ahead of them, and to be brutally, mercilessly cut down like that. It's I am beyond words, to be very honest with you. There is no justification for that. There is no you cannot give any rational reason for that kind of behavior. Whoever the perpetrators are, it's just absolutely no. So I feel horrible, to be very honest.
Okay. Commy, Commy, are you still there with us? Okay, I think we lost her for a moment, but I think she'll be back. So now that takes me to my next question. How did we get to this point? I'll start with you, Eyong. How do you think we got to this point? Cameroon used to be known for a country peaceful, calm, nice people, good food. How did we get here?
Well, I will just say the simple one word that comes to my mind is, we got here because of leadership. There's a favorite quote by John C. Maxwell which says, everything lies and falls on leadership. If something happens today, I'm a dad, I'm a father, I'm a husband, something happens today with my kids, with my wife, there's nobody they're going to call. The first person they're going to call is the husband, the father, and ask me questions. How did this happen? So until I take responsibility for what has happened in my home and begin to explain, then I am the one that really has to give account. This is where everything starts. And again, it's not about talking about the government. It's talking about each and every one of us. And we are all leaders. We all have a certain level of influence in our different affairs. So where all of this started is in leadership. From the very beginning, things were not properly addressed. How did we get here? We got here because we failed to handle things right from the very beginning. When I think about it as like the lizard that has been fed over time has become the dragon that is spreading fire and killing mercilessly. From the very beginning, things would have been addressed differently. The military was not supposed to be out. There were not supposed to be any gunshots. There were not supposed to be any arrest. This is where everything started. But again, how did we get here? That's how we got here. People got wounded. People got upset. People got traumatized. People got angry. People got bitter. And when people are out of all of these emotions, it scales to different things without control. I'm sure we're not really going to be going too much backwards into what has happened. It's about how do we move forward from here. But that's how we got here. We got here because of leadership. We got here because some of us, plus the government, we failed to take responsibility of what was going on back home. That's how we got here.
Yeah. Tino, let's talk about leadership. Enoh has spoken about leadership. what do you think the government should have done differently if, when this whole drama began in 2016?
I believe the government for a very long time has taken the people for granted. And that's what they did in the beginning. They took it for granted. And it was just a matter of, for me, of a small symbolic gesture to show that we actually hear your cries, because this whole thing just started on a simple thing like, please just let us have our system, because we are really different from you guys. Our school system, our legal system. These are the two institutions that were left for us, and these are the things that really define how we operate with each other, and that's what differentiates our cultures essentially. So if we're crying that you should do these things, what is so hard in it for the government to really just say that let's allow them manage their education and legal system? And from the neglect of that, many other revendications started coming up. People started complaining about poor infrastructure in the Northwest and Southwest regions. People started talking about poor infrastructure in the Northwest and Southwest regions and all those things. The government didn't react, didn't accept any, didn't even give a listening ear. It was like people have no reason to be angry or to be demanding these things. It's like our demands were unfounded, but these things are real. They are founded. I see our education system is really, really going down the drain. What I read today from people that have graduated from high school, it's horrible. And when you compare to my time, you can see that the educational standards keeps going down because they keep diluting, like what you're saying. We first of all have schools like the ENS, where to get in there is not even about merit, it's about everything else, as every other thing in Cameroon. It's not about merit, it's about everything else. So when you're killing the society, and people cannot support the government. If people are not educated, they cannot build businesses and create jobs that give people a good standard of living. When you make things difficult for these people, they cannot help the government, because the government is not supposed to be the highest employer in any country. The government is not supposed to take all the charge, but they don't want to empower the people. It feels like they suppressing the people's personal growth makes these people have more control, and that is what seems to me to be their objective. Their objective is not running a country. Their objective is staying in power. They have lost sight of what it is to be a leader of a nation. We do not have national pride anymore.
Okay. Hi, Commy. Can I have you? Are you there? Oh, we lost her again. Daniel, do you agree with the other two panelists? Do you think we got here because of poor leadership?
I mean, yeah. I think I would more specifically draw it down to governance. We're looking at an issue of governance, how the country is actually governed, how it is managed, how the people are managed, how the resources are managed. How the educational systems and the systems that are in all the institutions that are there to ensure that there is prosperity and progress for the people, how those systems and institutions are governed. So there is the leadership aspect, but there's also an issue. There's also an issue of governance, how those things are done, and when we have clearly bad governance in that sense, then you begin to have things like people feeling marginalized and oppressed, or whatever that feeling is, and that over time that results in an outburst. So I certainly do agree with my co-panelists here that there is definitely an issue of leadership from government, as well as real issues around governance. Yeah.
Because we're having an honest discussion, I want to ask this question. Do you think the government will do something differently? Do you think with the way the government is run, do you think they have some better strategies ahead? I'll go with you, Tino.
I think
To solve
they
the
don't.
Anglophone crisis.
They don't have a strategy. All what's going to happen is that we have to push them to make the mistake that will not bring them back. Because for me, they are not thinking in the direction of solving this. They are thinking in the direction of being right and being and being like non-remorseful, or maybe refusing to say that they don't know. They just want to be right, and that is gonna, for me, that looks to be like their modus operandi. It's not like they're looking for solutions. So I think that what is going to end this is they're going to have to make the mistake that they can come back from, and we have to push them. We have to pressure them. It's a government that reacts in clandestine manner. When you look at it, so all we have to do is put pressure from all ends, and they have to be the ones to take themselves out, because I don't think that they are actually working actively towards solving the crisis. This government has to go, and they have to take themselves out. We just have to put the pressure.
And now we are having a lot of comments from people who say, for the conflict to be solved, we need to go back to the roots and go, and that's for some, according to the comments from those, what the comments we have is how the country was structured, and the different structures that were scrapped, along the line starting from 1972. Do you agree with that? There should be some adjustments, not necessarily to separate the country for this conflict to come to an end.
Well, I think before when there's an accident and people are injured, before you begin to go to deal with some major stuff, you first have to sort out the most urgent ones that are on ground. See, at the moment we're talking about something that's not going to happen in the next 5 years, the next, probably, I don't know, I don't want to say 10 years, but what do we have that is urgent on ground at the moment? So when such a question is asked to me, I was like, I don't want to skip what is on ground to run into the pot. What we have on ground is that children are being killed. What we have on ground is that people are living in terror. I received a video of my sister in Boya, and kids were jumping out of the fence, running out of school because of just one little rattle scares the whole city. This is not the Cameroon I grew up in. This is not the city, the country I was raised in, where we could play football outside in the rain. In the night, we could sleep on the grass. We could jump around, tell stories. We could even stay all night outside without fear or remorse. This is not the country I grew up in. So before there is even a table to speak, there has to be an atmosphere for that. And the first things I'm saying is that before we begin to talk about go back to the roots, let's clear the grasses that we have allowed to grow around. What is the grasses? The grass is that there is fear. The people don't have trust. Who are they going to trust to sit down and talk? So create an atmosphere for these people to have the confidence that we can sit down and talk. Number one, demilitarize all the zones. Clear up the place. Let the people feel free. Clear out all the arms. Allow people to have a clean atmosphere to go back to school. Let people get about their businesses again back. If people can get back this feeling and this atmosphere of safety, then we have taken the right step in the direction to begin to say, okay, now we have the kind of atmosphere that we can sit down and begin to talk. Until that is done, people can't talk when they are scared. People cannot even express their opinion when the atmosphere is all tense and there's no sense of confidence and trust in the air. So I think before we even begin to address and say, let's go back to the roots and all of that, which I believe is a very important thing to deal with, there should be a party that should be dealing with it. But the urgency on ground is we need a change in the atmosphere. The violence must stop. The killing has to stop. For me, that's the urgency now.
What does this horrific killing in Kumba mean, for this conflict? What does this say about where we are now in this conflict? Tino, maybe I hear from Daniel. Please.
Daniel,
yeah.
I mean, it just means, it just tells us that we are going down a very dangerous path that we may not so easily recover from. We're talking about children. Now, I mean, in every society, kids are the most protected. They're the most guarded, and most revered in terms of their lives. Now, if they are attacked, then I mean, we're losing our humanity. That's what this is meaning to me. We are losing our humanity, and things are going in a really dangerous direction. And if we do not curtail that very quickly, and stop that, train from getting off the track, or from getting, forward in that sense, then that's what scares me in that sense. It's the fact that, when I mean, these are children, right? And I'm trying to not get out of that. We're talking about kids here. When we get to that place, where kids are being killed so brutally, so mercilessly, well, we're only going down a very dangerous path that, we will take a long time to recover from.
We must mention here that we're not sure who did this attack. Even the United Nations has not said this group did it. They have said there should be an investigation. Commy Mussa, let me come to you. Why do you think a group or people will attack children, in the context of a crisis, a conflict like this? Why will some people decide to do this? Can we hear?
Oh, hello.
I don't know what's happening with her line.
I'm sorry, I missed out on some of the conversation. I was having challenges with my connections.
Yes, please go on. We can hear you.
Okay, good. So for me, why would anyone
Hello, Commy.
attack kids in context?
Hello.
Yes, Bless. Hi, Bless. Can you hear me?
Maybe we come back. Yes, we can hear you, please.
We can hear her. We can hear you.
Go on. Yeah, please go on.
So I was first because my connection has not been very stable. I'm not sure why. But real quick, just to say, it's an abuse of power. There are people who have power, don't know the purpose of that.
Unfortunately, we lost her. Maybe I just throw the same question to Enoh. Enoh, why do you think a group would want to attack children?
Yeah, 100% I agree with Commy, and I would say it's an abuse of power. That's just it. When the purpose of something is not known, then abuse is inevitable. Whether it is abuse of finances, abuse of resources, abuse of position. And this is as a result of a broken value system in our country. We have a broken value system. I remember years ago, growing up as a little boy, we used to be taught what you call civics in school. I don't know if we have such a thing now as civics or civil rights or study of patriotism or values on how to, and in those books and in those educational upbringing, corruption was a very serious stuff that was handled there. But we have lost this value system. We have lost this value system, and once that value system is broken and there is no more value system, then all those who are in power begin to abuse it. And that's why in the beginning we said it's a leadership issue. And the leaders which we have allowed for long, there are no values that they have, and they have perpetrated disorderliness through the abuse of that power. And that is exactly what we're experiencing in Cameroon. It is leaders who are abusing their power, who have become blind, who have become greedy, who don't have any sense of any heart humanity again, that will allow or even think or imagine of being part of such an atrocity act, an act that will never wipe the minds again of the Cameroonian people. I'm thinking these children, like for me, like I've lived a certain life. I've seen certain things. Probably I will go, but I'm thinking about these kids. For some of them who were in that environment, the trauma, though I'm not just talking about those who were killed. I'm saying those who were there, who saw it, who heard the gunshot. How can those kids recover from such image, from such experience, from such trauma? How would they, what kind of How will you help those kids take off that memory from their mind? How will they grow up with it? What will be in their heart? These are the kind of deep pains that people are crying about.
If I may come in here, I think the attackers, if you've seen in other places, when people attack children, they know the outcome. They know that media attention is going to be huge. They know that there is going to be widespread condemnation. Do you think at this point both sides in this conflict are using this, for their own gains? Because we've seen children being killed in Gabo, and there wasn't much talk about, there wasn't much talk, on that as we have now. And if you see the way the government goes about it, Cameroon, it's a country where protests are not allowed, but now the government is organizing protests for this. So do you think this is a sad incident, but unfortunately, both groups are trying to, they're trying to win more points with this? Tino, what's your thought? What's your thoughts on the way the two factions, warring factions, the separatist fighters and the government have handled have handled the current killing, horrific killing in Kumba?
I just want to take a little bit of a flashback to those people were saying that we have to go back to the beginning, and then we come back to this situation and look at what's happening now. Okay, some people are asking for separation, some are asking for federation, some want a one and indivisible Cameroon. That's not what people want. People want to live in a peaceful and prosperous society.
Yeah.
No matter how you choose to define it, before all of those things, we want peace and prosperity. We can have an independent Ambazonia and is war every day. That is not what we want. We can have federation and there's war every day. That's not what we want. We can have one and indivisible Cameroon and there's war every day. That is not what we want. We want peace and prosperity. The killing in Kumba, the one in Gabu, it was mixed with some other elderly people. You understand? So, and the situation was kind of murky that they burned the place and the people burned. But people, you went to a school building and a classroom and you see those little kids and you blow up their brains. It means that for you just want your whatever you want. You don't want peace and prosperity, which is what people want above all of those other things. We didn't come in this world to be independent or federated or one and indivisible. We came here to live peacefully and prosper in life and enjoy the good things of life. With that, we cannot do that in war. So if this killing, if you're going to this extreme, like you were saying that they're doing it for media attention. What the media attention is to say that we are willing to go to any extent to have what we want, even if what we want means, even if for us to get it, we have to kill everybody. And in the end, that's not the purpose. The purpose is not for you to have an independence. The purpose is for people to live in a prosperous society. So that's all I can say. For both sides, they have failed woefully, because even if, without pointing fingers, like I said, the separatist fighters claim they are protecting the people of English Cameroon. The government claims it's protecting Cameroon. Whichever way you identify yourself at that point as a child in that room, you were not protected. You were not protected. And those children don't even know how to identify themselves at this point in time. So they were not protected. So your whole argument has become baseless from the 24th of October, because that one was point blank, non-disputable. There is no argument, and we don't need any evidence or any investigations.
Okay, let's now go to how we can fix this. Let's start as young people. Daniel, how do you think young people, because we've agreed, or people have shared the opinion that leadership in Cameroon is poor. So what can young people do to end this conflict so that we don't have another Kumba another time?
Wow. Well, that's a very difficult and complex question to ask in the midst of so much that's going on. I think right now, with the current situation as it is, my suggestion for a lot of young people is to channel that emotion, channel that feeling that we have, that anger and so on and so, there's a lot of people right now that are very angry, very upset, and so on. But we can channel that into probably something that would be much more productive within the community, to look at how we can, uh, uh, you know, ensure that we're safe to some extent amongst the neighborhood, and for young people especially who have the energy in themselves, and look at maybe something quite industrious that they can put their hands to, within the within their own communities and so on, because the youth are the future of every nation, right? And unfortunately, the children, like Enoch said, they are the future. But the ones that are alive now, I think it's to take on what is happening and take that negative emotion and really channel it to something that's industrious. Because when it's there's a famous saying that that's an idle hand is the devil's workshop in that sense. The key is not to be idle in that sense. Is to be industrious. Look for something that you can do that can be of benefit to yourself, to the communities around you, and so on and so forth. So that's just a very small contribution in terms of what can help for young people in that sense. Yeah.
Uh, and I've seen a lot of young people mobilize to talk about, speak out against the killings in the Northwest and Southwest. On Twitter, it's big. There is this hashtag in Anglophone Crisis. Young people are doing a lot. How do you think it can be better organized so we have good result? All this activism, all these things that people try to do to advocate for an end to this conflict. How do you think young people can better coordinate themselves so that the end result becomes good?
Well, I think I just want to commend a lot of people, young people especially, who are doing a lot of on ground work. Someone like Tino, and just because everyone doesn't know what certain people are doing, doesn't mean there are not a lot of young people doing great work. I have people I chat with, young people who are doing great work on their own, taking initiative, going to the north, going to different places, helping, trying to educate women on how to run self businesses, to create their own businesses. There's a lot of work going. So it's true that when an incident like this happens, it's loud all over the place, and it tends to drown the efforts that a lot of young Cameroonians are trying to, drive some positive change at their different levels. So I really want to, like what Daniel was saying, if we in the midst of this will not only blow the trumpet of what is going wrong, we continue to also publicize some of the efforts we are doing to try to educate people and also promote peace in the different ways, I think it will be very encouraging for a lot of people. At the same time, at the moment, I believe more than ever before, we should continue with the hashtag end Anglophone crisis. Like it's never been done like in this period. It should continue. That's just one way. And I believe that beyond doing things separately, we are going to have to start doing things now more corporately. For example, we should be able to share with one another. For example, it's good because of this platform. I'm going to get in contact with Tino now. I'll
Thank
be
you
able
very
to
much.
share more of Tino's work, what he's doing, which probably before I wouldn't. I will be able to share Daniel's work even more, even you, Blaise. So it is more about realizing that we cannot depend on the government anymore. We cannot depend on some people holding guns anymore. We have to depend on ourselves. We have to depend on our intellect. We have to depend on some of the projects we are already running. But this time, we have to do it on a corporate platform and say, you know what? In the midst of this, we can do things different. We can drive in some positive energy. So beyond that hashtag end Anglophone crisis, I think the next hashtag is to be hashtag solving Anglophone crisis, the way forward. We should be able to change the hashtag. Let's see a progress among ourselves, the youth.
Tino, how can we see this progress? How can young people like myself, like you, Enoh, Daniel, how can we see this progress? How can we see these changes Eyong is talking about?
The thing is, first thing is that this our leaders have made all of us skeptics because they have hidden information from us. We have grown up in a government where to get a translation from a document is like is hell. So it's like they don't want you to be informed. So even when we try to do things, everybody is skeptical. So we have become skeptics. But that's okay, because we will have to start from now and change it. And in doing what Enoh has talked about, what Daniel has talked about, really is a two fight. Like Enoh gave an analogy of when there's an accident, you have critical cases that you have to deal with, and then there are other things that you're doing on the side. And those long-term things, I think, we should not lose focus and start doing these short-term things, whereas those long-term things will matter most going forward. With my platform, what I want to do is develop the mindset of inclusion, first of all, of participation, of not hiding behind an account on Facebook and saying that this is what I want, this is what I want. That's why we're trying to deploy technology. These are the things that this government doesn't want to adopt. We're trying to deploy technology to create a platform where everybody can register, they can have a way to chat on a forum, vote on polls. So we really actually get the temperature of what the people want, not assumptions. And we have to have an information revolution where information is shared, is checked, fact checked and shared. Because we're in a country where it's like the people is a competitive advantage to hide information, which is not, societies don't grow like that. That's why other countries have governments that they have patterns that have to be made public after a while. So everybody can have access to this information and build on this information. We have to create that culture, and it is only by doing the things that we are doing. And I'm very happy that Enoh is willing to jump on and help us. The whole idea of what I'm trying to do is galvanize the youth for us to help each other. They accuse us of being inexperienced. Let's show them that we can run a community organization in a better way, in the best way that they have never ever done it before. They have accused us that we are incompetent. But no, this is the technology age. We are the competence. We know these things better than they know or could understand these technologies and the powers of these technologies. Case in point, I can bet that if we didn't have the internet, the world would have been in the worst case by now. It could have been a total massacre and nobody would care. But the internet has helped, technology has helped us and even given us a lifeline. And we should adopt it not only in talking and communication, but in tools and collaboration tools and bringing youth together to support youth projects, to advocate for each other, and at the same time, we put pressure on the government in whatever way we can so they can break. They have to break. They have to leave us alone. If they cannot help us, they should get out of our way. Let us help ourselves, because we are totally capable, despite of what they say. We are totally capable of doing it ourselves. And I always have a thing I say that if the Cameroon government shuts down for 1 month, we will grow, because they are there to put roadblocks to everything you're trying to do. If they actually close their doors for 1 month and do not do anything, this country will actually progress. And we have to show them that we are willing. And if they are not willing to help us, let's help ourselves. And community is the most thing. Many Cameroonians who have gotten into the mindset of wanting to get rich, I always do a fact check for people. Like 99% of us will not become the next Dangote or the next Photo Victor. But we can build communities that all of us can live happy lives in a community. All of us will not become private jet owners, but let's build community. Let's build community. We have lost touch of community and love, and that is what is happening. We are being individualistic. Where is the passion? People don't even go out again to support Cameroon like that. So let's build community.
Daniel, Tino is bringing up very good points, nice ideas. Do you think the current realities on the ground permits young people to come up with initiatives that will help to prevent another Kumba? Do you think the current reality favors that?
Well, I mean, it's not the ideal reality to live in, because there is fear, there is apprehension, there is lack of trust, there is things which have degraded in terms of there's lack of love, and all of those other things that help to build a community. But out of the ashes, you can always find beauty. And I think in terms of whether or not it is possible to achieve the things that Tino is talking about, I do think it is possible. I think if because for the most part, if you were born in the 80s, or in the 70s, and you're probably in your 30s or 40s now, you will remember a Cameroon that was peaceful. You will remember a Cameroon that you were actually patriotic about. Whether it's, most Cameroonians were quite patriotic about their country. It wasn't the best, it wasn't the best country for everybody. It wasn't the most prosperous country for everybody, but Cameroon, was quite peaceful in terms of, there wasn't the kind of issues that we're talking about now. I mean, when was the last time, we've had this kind of thing? So I think, with that frame of thought, we can rise up and say we're going to build or rebuild communities that are safe, communities that ensure prosperity for everybody, opportunities for everybody, and communities that are trusted, where we trust one another, where we look out for the interests for one another, and not just selfish interests in that sense. We're not looking out for ourselves only. We're looking out for the greater good in that sense. And I think it's absolutely possible for us to do that. Yes, the times are really difficult, and sacrifices would have to be made in that sense. I'm willing to sacrifice in any way that I can, for that goal to be achieved. But in terms of whether that's possible, I think it is possible. I think it will be difficult, but I think we can achieve it, and we can ensure that the next generation will not come into a Cameroon that is in conflict, or that has sort of fallen apart, but would come into a Cameroon that is much better than the one we received in that sense. So I think it is possible. I think my Blaise is having a problem there. Hi, Blaise.
Yeah, it
Oh, can
looks
you?
like Blaise's talk is out of the.
Okay. Perhaps we can. We wait for him to give him a few moments to come back on.
Yep. Yep. Hmm.
But Tino, it's quite fascinating what you guys are doing there on ground. I think we'll definitely like to connect with you and see what it is that we can do. We can do together.
Yeah, I'm sure Blaise is dealing with his network over there.
Mm.
Hello, guys. Sorry, if you're in Cameroon, you should understand what's happening. I apologize for that. I want to also apologize for Commy. She's also having the same problem like I have now. But yeah. Um, so, is Tino still there? Enoh, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Great. Okay, I apologize for the network failure. Let me ask the same. Let me put the same question I put to Daniel. Do you think we have the realities on the ground favors young people to bring out change? Because I think there are laws, there's some kind of oppression which is difficult for young people to want to really advocate and change the current crisis and try to bring solutions. How do you think young people can bypass all these limitations and make something different, to cause a change that will help to solve this conflict?
Well, I think I will fall strongly on exactly what Tino was sharing. Like I've always believed in this statement: don't ask what the government can do for you. Ask yourself
Mm,
what you can do for the government or for your nation. So if our mentality was shifted a little bit, I want to say that it's sad. Where we find ourselves is really sad in terms of the events that are happening. But where we find ourselves as individual also is to shift our mentality. Our mentality should be shifted from waiting for something to happen and asking, what can we do? So if as a young person, I'm waiting like, does the government the things that are in our disposition, does it facilitate, my success, my business, my other things? The truth of a fact is that in Southern Cameroon and in many other places, it's not true. It's not true. So, but for me, this is a call for innovation. This is a call for invention. This is a call for creativity. And in terms of this area, in terms of some of our brothers like Tino, we have it. We have people with creativity. And for me, necessity is the mother of invention. So this is a great opportunity for us to begin to invent in the midst of the hardship. And I believe, and I know there are many young people who are inventing that right now. I know there are many young people who are innovating right now. The only thing is that whatever they are doing is not yet loud enough. And that's the reason also we're talking here about beginning to build a community where the little things we are doing can become more known by everyone. Believe me, if we push this out even much more, we'll be building something that we will never imagine how explosive this will become. I think Blaise just went off of network again.
No, I'm here. Sorry, yeah, this is crazy.
Okay.
Tino, I think one of the ways that the government and even separatists have used in the past to silence dissent and make sure that people who are critical of them do not speak is to attack them. Do you do, I How, Tino, can you hear me? I think he has a problem. It's crazy. And Daniel too is off. Okay, and now let's talk about security for young people, because in as much as we want young people to do all these amazing things, we want them to be safe. How can one advocate for a peaceful end to this conflict and still be safe?
Well, we have the social media like you and I are using now. We've got a digital space. Like Tino was saying, everything is going digital. We need to take advantage of digital. If you cannot go to on the roads, if you cannot go outside, if you cannot go on the main highways for your voice to be heard, use the social media. Put out your voice. Write a message. Again, this is what I believe. Your voice, our voice, and my voice can make a difference. How you express that voice is unique. We all have different ways of expressing that voice. It could be a song, it could be a poem, it could be a creative work. There was something to just restore hope and give people the way forward. So use social media. Now we could be able to gather 100 young people here without gathering on the streets. We will pass the same message because everyone is on the digital space. So whether you like it or not, if we are saying end Anglophone crisis, we don't necessarily need to go on the streets and march. We can pass the same message because almost everyone has a phone. Almost everyone is on Instagram, on YouTube. Almost everyone is on Facebook. And whether they like it or not, this message is going to be out there. If 1,000 young people are saying the same thing, there's no way the government won't hear about it. There's nowhere the international bodies will know about it. So I think we cannot complain that we don't have the possibility to go out on the streets and make our voice heard. There are many more platforms. Thank God we are living in a time that there are multifaceted ways of making our voice and our opinion heard.
Daniel, how can we go past the social media work that we do? Because some people, I think I've even heard people from the government say that at some point these young people will get tired. So what's the way out with this conflict? How can we have concrete results? What can young people do to have concrete results? We've seen the horror in Kumba. We've seen the pictures. We've seen the videos. Are we just going to keep on the social media pressure and stay with the hashtags, and then we wait for another attack so we can do another hashtag? How can we go past? What can we do to push the government, to push the separatists to end this conflict?
Well,
Thank you, Blaise. I think we have to. Um, it's not just end Cameroon, end the Anglophone crisis. It's not just a hashtag. It's not just a tweet. It's not just a statement on a banner. It's real a change that we're looking for here. We need this. We cannot afford. We absolutely cannot afford to have another incident like what happened, in Kumba. It's just not possible. So, in terms of how we can move forward, we've got to have people of influence, Cameroonians of influence at different levels in society, whether they're businessmen or politicians or activists or those in the international communities, whether they're Cameroonians or not. We want them to begin to speak out on this same matter. We need people from around the world to speak out on this matter, to say, hey, what's happening here, we would not tolerate it. You guys need to sort this out. You guys need to change. So we need voices at every level, from top governmental offices all the way down to grassroots. We need to have our pressure, our finger on the on the pressure button, really putting that pressure on to ensure that we get a real change. That change may look like maybe ensuring that it might be the demilitarization of the regions. It might be, but whatever that looks like, our end goal is, like Tino said, the peace and the prosperity of the people. That's what we're looking for. And in terms of how we get there, my suggestion is this is not just a hashtag that we want to fade away. We want this to be something that we want to be picked up by various individuals across various levels of influence. Celebrities have got to pick this up. Entertainers have got to pick this up. Politicians have got to pick this up. Sports men and women have got to pick this up across various different sectors. Business leaders have got to pick this up, and corporations and so on, and really get behind, because this is children we're talking about, but this is a common goal that we're looking for, which is the betterment of the people in this region.
Tino, I'll put this to you. Some people believe that the United Nations, the African Union, are not very useful to Cameroon. The conflict has been on for 4 years, and all we have heard is condemnation, and there hasn't been any real pressure, even from the Commonwealth, La Francophonie, to end this crisis. So, what can be done by young people to pressure not just the government, but to pressure international bodies to look at Cameroon? I think no one is asking for an intervention, but to put pressure on the various warring factions, so that they can have they can behave responsibly, so we don't have like what happened in Kumba. So what can young people do to pressure people and institutions that matter?
Well, for 4 years now, we've been calling on all these international organizations, and I happen to know people who work for some of these organizations at very high levels, and you get to realize that politics is a very complicated situation. And even in those organizations, you have the Cameroonian politicians are very powerful people in those international organizations. It's not like they're just there, and there are people that can be told what to do, when to do it. So realize that it's really about us, the youth. I believe in just an energy that we can put out, that these people will suffocate these people out. I'm really more looking at how can we be innovative. Like I always say that our problems in Cameroon do not need experience. We need creativity. I think Enoh said something about in that light too. We need to use our creativity in solving the problems that we have. For example, right now, first of all, the whole thing is on the Cameroon government. It's like they are the ones that have the power, and they know the solution to this. They just don't want to give it. They know the solution. I think that they know. So we have to put pressure on them. But how do we put pressure on them? I think that we have to use our creativity, because in the end, we have to wean ourselves off of them, right? So that's why I'm talking about a platform like the Bantu Academy I've been working on. How can we get little tablets that have all these information on and send to these kids so they can the parents can help them at home. And we have to win ourselves, because these people, they think that they are everything to us. So how can we organize ourselves and say that we'll have this education whether you like it or not? You understand? And we'll go around your ways. And when you try to stop us, eventually it's going to break. Because, I mean, people, I'm really advocating that we shouldn't go on the streets. One thing with street protests is that there are very many people out there who do not even have the educational capacity to understand the problem. They just go out there, they're hungry, and some people get adrenaline from the violence. It's just people, that's just humans. So it's going out there always has this risk. If you look at it, if you notice the street protests that have been going on right now, they have been peaceful because this has been led by women, by women and elderly women. So you can see that that demographic that's why they have been so peaceful. I think that those elderly women can take that front, because they will be the ones that can keep that thing peaceful. We, the young people, have to do something else. So we have to give pressure from all ends. And part of the pressure for me is telling this government that we are trying to win ourselves from you. You don't want us to go to school. We're going to find alternate ways of getting the student educated. And we're going to invest our money and our community service into it. It has to be a community service thing that will solve this problem. It's like we come together, we identify communities and say, how many kids are here that haven't been going to school? Who is in this place that understands how this can happen? How can we get them in a secure place to study and catch up while the government takes the time to figure out what it has to do? Because I think the answer to this is in the hands of the government. They are the ones that have the legitimacy. They are the ones that are recognized by the UN. In the end, they are the only ones that can talk with the UN. You understand? And all those international bodies and all the other factors, they are the ones that have the legitimacy to talk to everybody. But if they are not being proactive about it, we have to use our creativity and find alternative methods. I don't want us to become beggars behind these people, because I think that it kind of boosts their ego at a certain time. We have to try as much as we can on our own end to fight, because I believe if we, the people, really come together and really, it's not about it's about internally. I always tell people that it's for us internal to look inside each other and ask ourselves this question: that are you sure your kids, what country will your kids meet? Because Cameroon is one of those countries that, despite the numbers, when I look at things physically, we are moving backwards. When I was in 1998, we had traffic lights all over in Bamenda. The roads were tarred. Go now, those same roads are all broken, no traffic lights and stuff like that. So we're moving backwards, and they're having cosmetic solutions here and there, cosmetic things they do left and right to make us feel like we're progressing. We are actually not progressing. They are looting the coffers of this country. We are surviving, most Anglophones are surviving on remittances from the US and abroad. So we have to really continue doing that and work among each other and put pressure on the government and offer. I think that the protests can be led by different groups that have, like I said, for example, look at the peaceful protests that went in. Those are those things that have to be constant. These people should constantly see us in every angle they turn. They should see us in, whether it's in the protest, and I believe that protests should be, if there are going to be protests, they should be like the ones that I saw today with those women, very peaceful, and nobody, and these young men, I want to keep young men away from the street, because they are the people that easily get carried away and then turn to violence and destroy the whole thing. So I want the elderly, the mothers that have already shown us that they feel our pain. Maybe the fathers still don't feel our pain, because I also blame the fathers more, because these are their friends, these are their age mates, and we are letting some of us get into that same system that in 10 years' time we'll start fighting each other. So I think I've expressed.
I think for the past 2-3 weeks or so, we've seen a fresh momentum in terms of young people really seeking a solution for this crisis. Enoh, how do you think this momentum can be kept so that the pressure stays on people that matter, so they understand that people are watching, people are fed up, people are tired? How can we keep this momentum?
Yeah, honestly, I want to say that I know for a lot of people who feel the pain, and I feel a lot of pain. I know for many people think that putting hashtags on social media, on Facebook, is just a social media thing. I also just want to reiterate that we're living in a digital age and everything is data. This we have to maintain. It's about consistency. Probably we have done it for a period of time and stop. So I'm thinking that we have to do it more consistently now. We have to claim back our power, we as the youths. So like what Tino was saying, we have to come up with strategies to push education and help ourselves in the community. But we also need to have a more consistent social media presence where we're bringing in people, influencers, to continuously, consistently speak about the end to this crisis non-stop. Like we're talking about a consistency of every day. We have to put it out there more and more and more. And I think that's one of the way that we cannot stop doing that. We have to innovate also the way we put out the message, the way we bring it out. Again, I agree with Tino. The young men are the targets. The young men have been targeted. Even young men who are not even protesting, they are being arrested on the road. Even young men who are just dressed, they are being arrested. So what much more if they go out and protest? So the young men need to be smart. The young men need to be intelligent. They need to preserve their energy for more innovative and other things like what Tino is saying. Let's preserve ourselves, the youth. Stay away from the streets. Don't go out and protest. Don't do that. Stay away from it, because that energy needs to be channeled into something else. Let's be more strategic in our approach, because putting ourselves out there to protest as young men, we're only putting ourselves more out there in risk. It is not smart. Another thing is there's a strong energy of anger and frustration. And like Daniel was saying, I want to implore again, with all the pain we are feeling, with all the pain we are feeling. Personally, for me, when all of that was going on, the first thing I was asking myself is like, I had to do a retrospect in myself. I had to do a self-analysis, because I feel like in a moment like this, it's easy to point fingers, but I had to do a self-retrospect and ask myself, how is there something I should have done differently? Can I do something different? And I'm like, okay, if that's the main point of analysis, what much more can I do? So everyone who is in this position as a young person need to think that way. Mothers are hurt, sisters are hurt, but let's not allow our emotions to overrun certain facts and realities, and don't push people into more danger. Let's be smart in a time like this. Let's be more strategic in our approach. And again, we are going to, a lot of people are doing projects. We are going to be more, I'm going to be in touch with a lot of I'm going to be in touch with a lot of young people now. We're going to come up with more ideas. We're going to put pressure on social media. We're going to put pressure to government bodies. We're going to put pressure to international bodies. We will do that which we have to do towards international bodies. We will do that which we need to do towards government, but we will not neglect what we have to do among ourselves as youths as well.
Yeah. Tino, I think you've been very, I'll come to Daniel, but I think you've been very vocal with what I want to say, and I think I should ask you this. Do you think it's time to name and shame people, for example, like Samuel Eto'o, who is an ambassador for UNICEF, but hasn't spoken about the kids in Kumba without belonging to any side? He's a Cameroonian first. This is something happened in Cameroon. It happens with kids. He's made ambassador because he's a popular Cameroon footballer. Do you think it's time, not just him and even companies and other individuals, do you think it's time to name and shame people who stay silent, who have the opportunity to speak but are not speaking out, or the opportunity to help and they are not helping?
I don't think that in such a case somebody needs to be forced to speak, and if it's a waste of our energy to go and start taking our time, we should be doing other things to be shaming people. I think that we need to forget people who are not touched by this, and we need to start focusing on what we who are touched and can do. Because if Samuel Eto'o is a UNICEF ambassador, nobody needs to tell him what to do. Nobody, if he has decided to stay quiet, he has his reasons, and I think that it's a waste of our energy for us to be going after him. If I believe that Samuel Eto'o owes me a pair of shoes, because the first time Eto'o came to Bamenda, I ran to see Eto'o so much that I lost my shoe. I didn't even notice. It's after he had left, I looked down and I was like, I don't have shoes. And I was like, whenever I ever meet him, I'll ask him for shoes. So that's how much I looked up to Eto'o growing up. But if at this point he has disappointed me, then I think that we need to start a new phase of communication that will change the kind of people that we look up to. You understand? We will not look up to people only for what they do for themselves. We will not look up to people who want to be popular. Just they don't understand that a platform like that is given to you that you can help other people and be a voice for the people. We have to change the kind of people that we make our celebrities. I looked up to Eto'o my whole life, but right now I really don't care about what Eto'o is thinking. If he doesn't want to say anything, I'm doing what I can do at my own level, and I think that's the attitude that we should all take. We should ignore these people, man. Let them not feel like it depends on them, because if they come half-heartedly and then we win the fight, they will claim the victory. But we are the ones working here. We have a young Enoh. He's here. He's equally a star to all of us, and he's doing what he has to do. So let's focus on him. Let's go to him, and instead of the energy we should be fighting Eto'o, let's come to Enoh. That was one more thing that you might have not thought of that you can do for us. Was one more call that you can make for us.
We are
let's
almost
focus
running
on
up.
him and let
How
him
can
do
we
the
get
best that he
past
can.
where
And
we are? How can we have
there.
peace? How can we have stability? How can we have our kids go back to school?
Man, like I said, it's a thing that I will not sit here and say I have the answers to. None of us has the answers to. We can just do little things left and right, the small things that we're doing that we have been talking about all here, and then it's just pressure, man. But we should just know that we are on our own. Let's work on changing ourselves. Let's start with ourselves and become the model of the leaders that we want to be tomorrow. And if all of us, if the 700 people have already signed up on my platform, take that in a daily mantra, in the next 2 years, those people will just disappear. Good will always triumph over bad when the good is real, is genuine, and is big. So we should just focus on these people. Let's do what we are doing. We know where we are going to, but we have to put our heads down. Let's not focus too much on the destination and forget that life is a journey. It is the journey. It is today, it is tomorrow, next minute, after next minute. Let's not fight too much for this big dream that we have in the future that is so far away, and forget that it is about the daily activities that we have to do today, tomorrow, and it's as simple as I will no longer throw papers anywhere when I move. It's as simple as those little decisions that we start making today. It's as simple as a girl deciding that I'm going to call up all the little kids in the evening and read to them. It's as simple as that. These are the little things that bring us together. It is not big things. It is not big moves. I think that we have been fooled because of the way social media is and Instagram Live, that is big things. It's big things. We're looking for big things. It's mostly little things that will cause that big change. These little things. If you're a young person and you have many kids in your neighborhood, even if they already go to school, can you read to them again after school? Can you collect them? And so I see they build schools now without a playground.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the way the education is right now is even messed up. So it's like they've just what. So I think that it's about those little things. All young men, young women, the kids around you, start reading to them. I write a lot, and people come and
everyone
say, "Who's going to read
their energy
and these are the effects." We have to be educated people. We have to educate ourselves.
Okay, Daniel, we are almost concluding. Tell me, how do you think we can live in peace again in Cameroon and have prosperity and go out at night without being afraid you'll be arrested or you'll be shot at? How can we restore the peace and joy we used to have in this country? What's the way forward?
Well, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, love your neighbor as yourself. Any society that's not built on that principle will fall into darkness. I think the fundamental thing is, if we can reform our attitudes and values around love, love for one another, love for our neighbors, love for our enemies, love for those who we do not agree with, and know that they're equally entitled to their own opinion, as much as we are entitled to ours. And they're different from us and we are different from them. And we don't all have to be the same to live in harmony. We do not all have to think the same to live in harmony. We do not all have to, talk the same to live in harmony. We can be different and still live in peace and live in harmony. So I think love is the bedrock of the Cameroon that we want to see, a Cameroon of peace and prosperity. Love is the bedrock of that vision and that society that we're looking forward to. We've got to start building that into our own attitude right now. and that would help us to project ourselves. If we have love, that's whether it doesn't matter whether you're francophone or anglophone, as there's been for a long time. We are all human beings, right? We're all we're all flesh and bone in that sense, and we all have needs that need to be met. So if we can rally around that, and really from within project love towards one another in that sense, we will not in any way come to what we have come to in terms of the incident in Kumba, or even conflict at all. But we'll be able to sit down and dialogue.
So basically, you think that the best way it's for us to show love to ourselves and to the other person.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Carrying of arms and those sort of things. It's at the end of the day, we all lose out, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wins. That's nobody wins. It's not about who is right or wrong. Look at the lives. Look at what's happening on ground. Look at the communities that are being destroyed and fragmented. Look at the issue. People are living in fear and all kinds of things. That's not a product of love. When we come around the table, we can only sit. To be very honest, we can only sit around the table if there is an iota of love in us. If we're still fighting and being quite antagonistic towards one another in that sense, we wouldn't be able to sit down and talk. So we've got to have love, and I'm pleading, with the international community. We've got to rally around this, because that's what would allow us to give us at least some headway in terms of moving forward. Everything that we're doing is on the basis of love, So that's very, very important.
I think we lost the moderator. We are all waiting.
Yeah.
The moderator is gone. I don't know how this thing works. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, then let me moderate why he's not there. Three of us here. So, Enoh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So, is there any particular initiative that you're working on, or you're just looking to support other initiatives that people have?
Well, I think there are a lot of the idea was, like I said, we need a platform of more awareness. If we didn't have this platform, probably I'd have not known the work you're doing. And I think the more we begin to create this awareness, then you have more people that can come together, to really push things. So, like, I'm going to get in contact with you now. And I think it's even much better for me at the moment. If those who are on ground are those who are more close to the situation, so that
I was even going to get to that.
Bodies should just partner with those people already doing stuff. Yes, that's for me. That's the best thing to do, because I'm not there. I don't really have details of what is happening. It's just to work with people like you and other more committed people to be able to push some of our projects. We can only help this ourselves, but another project I'm working on is to become more loud and more vocal about getting more other people involved in getting their voices and making it more loud and say, you know what, this thing has to end. I think, like I said, I've done that. I've written a few posts some years ago and a couple of months ago, but it's not enough. On my own side, I need to do more, and I need to do more, and I need to get much more people to put out their voice and say, you know what, this is happening in Cameroon. Let it not be like an accident that happened today. Everyone is feeling about it, and after 3 days, we forget about it. It has to be a consistent putting out, or until we begin to see the changes that we want to see. We will not stop this time.
Okay, yeah. And Daniel, I was going to ask you, it seems like you're also in the diaspora.
Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
am.
we actually know that many people in the diaspora have been accused of funding the separatist fighters. But besides that, what do you think people in the diaspora now can do towards what we have been discussing here today? What do you think that you in the diaspora, how can you best connect to those who are back home and on the ground?
I think one of the first ideas that come to mind is financial backing. Now, because the work that, for instance, yourself and some of the other teams are doing in Kumba and also in some of the northwest regions, in those regions as a whole, there is need for money, to support, for instance, widows who have lost their husbands and, families that have lost, the breadwinners in their homes and so on. Children that have been displaced and families that have been displaced and all those sort of things, the need for shelter, the need for some form of food and ration and all of those sort of things require finances and money and funds to be able to be behind that. So I think just from the onset, one of the first things that I think the diaspora can do is to be able to fund. And whether it might be having a pool of fund that comes together where everybody puts fund into, and then that's disseminated in terms of supporting the real needs that are on ground at this present time. That might be a way to help. Another thing is probably to offer their skills, right? Offer their expertise, offer their knowledge, offer their any form of expertise that they have. For instance, if we're saying we want to help the youth in those northwest and southwest regions to be enterprising and to be economically empowered, then they will need to have the knowledge, right? They will need to have the understanding of how to create a small or micro business and how they can take that and move that forward and better themselves, their families, and the communities. They need to have that knowledge, so they need to be empowered in that light. So whatever that is, there is there's a need for knowledge as well, of knowledge transfer in that sense.
Yeah, I'm really big on education because I feel like we can find, like I said, our creativity. Like right now, I'm trying to see how we could digitize like educational content that people can have in their homes, like CDs, so that these kids, like even the kids going to school, they can use it like supplementary education. We have to be able to organize and do things like that, and that's where the diaspora can come in. Like you said, I even have the person leading the tech team that is behind the platforms that we're creating right now for both the Anglophone artists to be able to collaborate amongst each other and have a streamlined organization. And for the Anglophone Youth Conference, he's actually in the US and he just volunteered. And I have him and some 4 other young men who have volunteered, and they're working on some tech platforms that we can deploy for all the different groups that are coming up. Because I don't believe that people are having this complaint, oh, let's create one group. No, many people come from different places and they want to fight differently. We have to fight differently. We have to have different offenses. So all we have to do is give each group the support, because eventually at this point, it is clear we are all fighting for the same thing. So that's why I'm working my platform that I was working on with the Anglophone Youth Conference. I've kind of like, we're deploying a similar platform for the Cameroonian artists who came together yesterday to do something similar. And I was able to convince them that we need to incorporate technology so our communication can be streamlined and organization. And they accepted that, and they asked me to provide them with the platform. So I have guys working on that. So I think definitely, Enoh, I'll be very happy to talk with you, and let's see how we can do. And even you, Daniel, I would like to connect with you guys. Let's see what we can do to push activities on the ground, because there's a lot of things we can do. And my really goal right now is like creating a team, like finding other young people who have time, because I'm really big on, we have to start building the mindset of community service. So I want to find other young people who have time, especially now with the emotions burning. People are willing. I'm talking to many people are reaching out to me. They're trying to do something. I just don't want to pick up too much without an organization. And like you said, I need funds to be able to do a lot of things. I don't want to have people, because even if they want to help, some people still got to eat. It's not like it's a job where they're getting paid and they have things to do. So even if they want to help organize activities, there should be some funds flowing. So I don't want to jump into fundraising activities right now until I have a very big picture of a good picture of what I'm trying to do and what it's going to take, so that everybody's going to contribute. And I'm sure when we get to that point, we have to do a lot of fundraising, but we also have this fear. It's a question I'm asking to both of you guys. We have this fear of the government now seeing people receiving funds for different things, and then they use those things to intimidate you and all that kind of stuff. So at this point, when I saw that kid has blown up, I'm ready to die. So I know personally nobody in the government is going to threaten me. I'm not going to accept any threats from anybody. I'm really willing to die for this. So what about these other people who are trying to do fundraising activities? If you have any experience with financial transactions, what can you advise people on how to go about? Because for me, I know my goal will be transparency, because that's one other thing we have to build into what we're doing right now, transparency. And it has to be a new culture that we build for ourselves and as a country. Most of us, we have years to live. If God blesses us, we have at least 40 years to live again, each of us, when I look at how young we are. You understand? So we have time here. And we have to start a new culture for Cameroon, a new way of life. And this is the opportunity. Those kids didn't die. That is the least we can do to honor them, to tell them that we have repented, we have changed. Because I believe I'm also part of the reason why those kids died, because maybe I didn't do a lot more when I could have done more. You understand? That's why we are all here. That's why Enoh is here, because he's saying that I want to make my voice louder, because maybe I wasn't loud enough. So we're about at that position. So like I was saying, what do you guys think about all the fundraising, and how do you guys think that people should go about it? It's not, I don't think any of us has the solutions, but we can have ideas on how to make this thing really not become a thing of people trying to make money and people fighting each other for positions of power and stuff like that. How do we make sure that doesn't happen? Enoh?
Well, Daniel, I don't know if you've been in any project where funds have been put together. I'm sure you have more lights on that. For me, I've just worked on projects where I've worked with certain individuals, I've committed funds to them, and they gave me report. But to work on a more global project, I haven't worked on that yet. So I don't know if, Daniel, you have more insight into that.
Well, I think my experience has not exactly been in that sense, but I think I can speak just from a strategic and an operational perspective. I think, there are right now, in terms of how, if we're raising funds for whether it's humanitarian works and supporting some of those community projects that you talked about, Tino. Right now, we can use very strong digital systems that are available that would curb all of the excesses of the things that we may be afraid of in terms of misuse of funds and some of those sort of things. And beyond that, I think if we are able to put together good teams that are credible, people who are responsible and have in them the desire to really see these communities being impacted. We might look at their track record, what they've done before, and ensure that what they're being committed, what's being committed into their hand, they will be able to manage efficiently and effectively in that sense. So I think there's a systems sort of solution that we can put to that as well. But there's also a people solution, and if we combine both of them, the systems that we use, the digital systems that we can use to raise, to raise those funds, as well as the people who would be in charge on ground, managing that and looking after that, I think that would be really that would be a good way to ensure that the funds that are being raised are being used effectively and they're being used legitimately. But also there's the issues of transparency. I think we have to ensure those things are there. Accountability is important, and all those things.
Okay,
Tino, are you still
I don't
there?
know, man. I think we have been abandoned here by the moderator.
I think he mentioned the electricity issue in Kumba, so I'm not sure if that's what's happened.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I think the host had some technical problems, so I'm just coming in to fill in so that the guests don't feel abandoned. I heard someone was saying that you've been abandoned. No, you've not been abandoned. We're hoping to get the host to come back. in so I'm Kingsley. For those who can remember, I am also one of those who host here on Daily TV. So I've been in the background watching and hoping that I could get the host to come back. So I am going to just see if there are comments that we need to address and questions from the audience. If you've got questions, please, can you, if you had your question before and it's not been responded to, can you just repost it? And if you have a comment that you want something you want to address to any of the panelists directly, please just get it to us. We've got just two of the panelists. Yeah. There, someone says all of us are to blame for their death because I, for one, I didn't really try putting pressure on the international bodies through social media. So, I mean, I think you've dealt with this already in many ways. But do you think that there is something? I mean, Eyong, you're the one here now. Do you think that there is something that we can do differently? I mean, going forward, because I mean, if we talk so much on social media and the international community doesn't act, how can we actually galvanize action on the ground to actually yield the results? Because I think that it starts with us. If we do not really want the change, no matter what we do, the international community cannot engineer change in Cameroon.
Yeah, I would say again, we want the change. Like I said, it's just that we are in a position now that we are taking the next level to push that change out there, and different people want the change in different sectors. So if one of the things I think we can do differently, for example, like someone like me, I said, I'm going to be more louder. That's something I'm already doing different. I'm going to start getting more people to speak more about it in a more intentional way. Another thing is that there's a lot of stories on ground that we don't know. If we can get more people's stories to be told in a way that the international community can hear people's story, connect to their emotions, and we intentionally share those stories on our platform, be part of the stories, share the stories intentionally. Like what Tino was saying, we want to set up a community, also a digital community, where when a story, it's a story needs to go around, we are all putting it on our platforms and we say, you know what, world, this is what is happening. This is this person's story. So it's not just the story in Kumba, there are many more other stories, but we're going to start pushing them out there even much more. I think that's just one of the things we could do. There are many more people with ideas. I think beyond this discussion, there is a conference which we want to, which initiating. Tino is talking about it. More ideas will be coming in. We have to streamline and evaluate and see what's the best and most effective one to work on now to get things moving forward. We will not be able to say the tailor-made stuffs here on this platform. It's just an awareness, it's just a discussion. It's just to create the right momentum moving forward. That's one of the reasons we're also here.
Okay, now, I mean, there is a perception amongst many people that one of the reasons why this conflict has stayed so long and has become protracted is because there are a lot of financial benefits accruing from it on both sides. The Cameroon military, just yesterday, we know that in Babanki, for example, soldiers went into the villages, they were looting at shops. I think they get allowances for this. There are people in Yaoundé who get a lot of outstation allowances, and so they don't want to lose this. I mean, it's for them a source of benefit. And then we know, of course, the amount of money that has been raised in the diaspora that never reached anyone. Do you, the panelists, I'll start with you, Tino. Do you think that there is something we can do differently to make sure that that stream of incentives that keeps these people glued to the conflict can stop?
That's a good question, and we're talking about that when we lost all of you guys. We kind of brought up that amongst ourselves, about three of us, and we talked about that. Man, it's like, man, these are things that go way back before I was born. The whole politics and the money and all those things. So it's, for me, it's about these people. In the end, we have to make it not worth it for them. You understand? Not worth it for them. So the problem is that how do we now make it not worth it for them? We don't even, like I said, Cameroon is a country where you don't even know figures. So everything is a conspiracy. I heard that. There's no trusted source at times. The national TV station is not trusted. So we don't really know exactly what are allegations, what is true, what is not true. I think that we should have to focus on where we can do damage control. And it is like in where we talk about people raising funds. It's about track record of, because I think that even the fact that I've been able to galvanize almost 2,000 people in less than about 48 hours is just because I have a track record of really doing these things I'm doing for the youth. How can we identify those people and empower them and then let them do what they can do? On the fact that the military gets people in the military get stipends from this war, I really don't know what we can do about that, man. I'm really leaving the war on the front of what can we do for ourselves. I mean, they're gonna do what they are doing, but at the same time, we also have to be doing what we're doing. But I feel like all we need to do is put pressure. Like Enoh was talking about stories. We have to get this out there so that international bodies, Transparency International, all these other people. There are many people who just need to hear the stories. They need one story to activate them to be like, hey, we're gonna audit some kind of transactions. Because all of this thing is money laundering schemes going on, weapons deals, and all those things happening. And in the end, people are benefiting from it. We just have to find the way of reaching more people with the stories, and maybe we'll touch one person that is in a position to put a stop to one thing. And then from there, it's like, let's tell the stories. And that's what the artists, that's part of the work the artists are trying to do. How can we curate the stories and tell them in a way that will reach many more people? It's about one person having the change of heart. It's really about one person having a change of heart and being like, I can stop this weapons deal. I can stop this thing that is people are doing. It's about the change of heart. And there are people out there who have not just interacted with the pain in a certain way. And it can be one piece of content that will make them really, like, we are all out today because of one incident. It's not like it's not been happening for years, but I'm sure many people have been killed since Saturday to today in relation to this war. I'm sure. We understand, but it's just about telling every story and try to get to as many people as possible, because when the voices become so loud, it's about one person that is going to stop one of those transactions just doing his job. Because this money gets passed even between people that are doing their regular jobs. They are not even involved, but they are involved. He asks one person to be touched and be like, hey, I'm going to release this account statement from this bank. You understand? And take the risk and make everybody get it. Like, in that community, all of us have to be involved, because I'm sure there are many people who are seeing these atrocities happen in front of them, even people working in that Ministry of Defense or in all of those government offices who see these things, and they want to do something about it, but they are weighing options. So we just have to give them that extra push, like, man, release this document that you have found that is saying that this person got this 300 million transfer, and let's put those people out in the public. Once this information comes out in the public, so we're looking for whistleblowers, basically, if that's the word I need to use. We need whistleblowers in the government to expose these people. There are many of you that who are caught in this situation, and you're going to bring curses on your generations because you're participating by being turning a blind eye to this. So we have to push them and make them understand where they stand and what their role is. They cannot say, I wasn't part of it, whereas you had a document that was showing a clear bad transaction that led to the killing of people, and people made money, and you have that document sitting in front of you, and you cannot just take a picture of it and send it out in any way possible. We have to create those
I get what you're saying, and I would just want to link that to the question by Justin Ben, who is saying that if this is an Anglophone crisis, why is it the killing only targets Anglophones in the Northwest and Southwest regions? And the question, maybe within the context, is the fact that, I mean, it's been 4 years, I mean, they say it's a war. I mean, Amazonians want us to believe that it's actually a war, but it's a war where the casualties are only on one side, because, you know, I mean, I am one of the school of thoughts that believe that you've just got the oppressed and the oppressors in Cameroon, and, you know, whether the soldiers, they have been very low level. Civil administrators, the deal of the Batibo, I think the only administrator that was kidnapped and killed is a man from Zian. We saw Florence Ayafo. She's from the Northwest. We've seen this lady who was hacked to death in Kumba. Was it Moyoka? You've seen. So could there be something more sinister behind this conflict than the political argument that people are trying to portray? Because it seems like Yaoundé is totally insulated from the impacts of the conflict. I will be coming to you, Daniel. What are your thoughts?
Wow, I would probably pass that over to Tina to answer, because for me, my interest here, and not to divert from the question, my interest here is, looking at the souls, the humanity of what's happening. I'm not so much at this stage. You know, when I saw those videos that on Saturday, I just cannot get my eye away from that. You know, I'm just, so for me, I think your question, I'll probably pass over to, you know, the other panelists, but for me, my goal is to say, how can I get the international community to be aware of this?
Yes.
Get them to be educated on the history of this conflict and get them to rise up as well, so that they can put pressure using their own voices all around, so that we can have some real change in this situation. Whether or not, I don't know what, I mean, no one at this stage can say for sure what's happening in the background.
Yeah.
Everything is kind of here and there. One day is Amazonia, the next day is you know, the Cameroonian government. We don't know. We don't even know who is responsible for this attack yet.
Yeah.
And so there is so much distrust rather, that goes around, and yet in the midst of that, we have the locals being slaughtered, being killed. They are becoming the byproduct. They just, you know, their lives are being made cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, you know, as the day goes by. So for me, it's really about what's happening and how we can
move forward,
hit that nail on the head. And all of these other things are happening, of course. But I guess that's a different kind of conversation in terms of, okay, how do we address those? But for me, I'm really focused on making sure that we raise the awareness and push as much as we can to get international communities across the globe to say, hey, you know, we're paying attention to what's happening there, and you guys need to stop. This crisis needs to end. We cannot afford to have another incident like it had in Kumba. It just cannot happen.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying about the international community, because I think Enoh will be familiar with this. There was a time, I don't know, I mean, you know, time has been so compressed, where a lot of footballers, international footballers, actually came out with messages talking about this crisis. At that time, it wasn't this bad. Eyong, what do you think really happened there? I mean, is there a way we can still get back? I mean, some of them are your colleagues, some of them are your former colleagues. So still get them back and say, hey, look, we need your voices again. Can we get them back again to actually, I've seen some Nigerian celebrities stepping up. Richard Mofe Damijo actually tweeted this. Can we get them back again to talk about it? Because it's really gotten out of hand. Is there something you think we can do in that regard?
Yes, honestly, like I said, a lot of people talked about it, some footballers and other sports persons, but we stopped. The crisis wasn't over. You know, people just, I also spoke about it and I didn't continue. Like I said, it's come to a point where we have to make our voices more louder, and of course I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be getting in touch with a lot of these other players and other celebrities too. This time is not about just speaking once because of the Kumba incident. This time is making our voices consistently heard until there is a stopping of the killing, until there's a stopping of that fear all over the place, until there's a stopping of this, there's a disarmament from both sides, until there's no more guns, because until the guns are still out there, then no one is safe. Anyone is safe. Anything can happen at any time. So the international community, for celebrities and also for sports people, I'm going to be pushing some of them to get their voices out there. And this time is, like I said, it's not going to be once, but it has to be on a consistent basis until we can see tangible changes, and also tangible also messages from both parties saying, you know what, we need to find a solution now, because this is not about the government. This is not even about the separatist fighters. This is about the people. This is about the children. So who are they holding the guns for? And why are they holding the guns if not to protect these ones? So we who are in this position, and all the parents and mothers who have money will say, we've had enough of this. And our voices are going to be louder and will not stop being loud until this thing is put to an end.
Thank you so much. Tino, there's a comment question here from Delhi Singer Phillips, who is saying, in conflict resolution, both sides must reach a compromise for successful resolution, which just ties in with what Enoh was just saying. Both sides need to actually commit. They claim to be both concerned about the people, yet the people are suffering and they don't seem to be to care. So the question is, are they really for the people? So, I mean, if you were to advise both sides, what aspects would you recommend to each of them for a compromise? So it's like the middle ground, what middle ground do you think anyone can advise? This is a question from Delhi Singer.
The fact is that there's actually three sides. That's why it's complicated. You understand? There's the people, because the people now have become another side, because the people are no longer, you understand what I'm trying to say? So for me, the advice has to go three ways, and that's basically what we have been trying to do here. The only advice that I can give, I don't really know, like these military people and the government, what advice can I give them? I believe they know what they're doing. It's just for them to understand that their generation is going to suffer for this. People are going to suffer for bearing their names. You understand? People are going to suffer for bearing your name. So it's even on their children. I think we should start addressing their children, because most of these old people, in no time they'll be gone, right? And they would have committed all these atrocities, and their children are going to leave, come back. So I think that we need to just appeal to them. I cannot advise them. They know what they're doing. It's not like these people are ignorant people. These are not ignorant people. These are people who have been playing with weapons for years before I was born. They've been playing this politics game for years before I was born. So I cannot advise them. I think they know what to do. For the people who are on the side of the restoration forces, I can tell them that for sure. Right now, you have failed the very people that you came out to protect and fight for. It is evident. So you should realize that in the end, you are not fighting for the people. So you're not, your war is becoming illegitimate once the people are dead. You're killing all the people that you claim to be fighting for. You're burning down all their houses. So when the war is over, what are they going to do? Suffer more? So it's not about, just realize, for the resistance force, that realize that you're no longer fighting a good fight. You're no longer achieving your objectives. If you're achieving your objectives, we will not be in this situation. People will be happier. People will be living more prosperous life. People will feel safer. People will feel like things are going. I know that people are saying that, in every war we have to suffer. I always ask people that, look at Syria. Take a look at Syria. How many years are we in Syria today? And there's still no solution. How many years are you willing to go? It's not going to not all of them will get solved. There are many places in the world that have been in constant conflict for decades. So don't think that it's going to be something that if at this point, I think we must have all realized that this is not worth it. This is not going to lead to any progress. It is at a point already where it is doing the opposite of what it was supposed to do. So, I mean, I think it's just at that point where it should stop. It's as simple as that. But at the end, I see people commenting here that, the only thing is to stop the crisis, no other thing. Stop the crisis before any other thing, man. People came into a room and blew up the heads of 6 kids. You think you can just tell them to stop? And they're just going to be like, okay, sorry, that was the mistake of yesterday. It's not, these people are on the extreme level of radical. So it's about pressure on all fronts, and we have to fight. It's like we're fighting to lead, and we have to do every single thing from every side. It's not about one thing. We have to do this first. We must have this first, or we must have that first before this can go on. No. Man, we have to be doing whatever we can do, like at any point in time, and move forward from all fronts. Because these people, they don't need advice. They know what they're doing, and all they need to know is that they should stop. If not, then we have to find a way to make them stop. Which is, I believe, is about like getting those stories out and getting the real influential people to talk about this thing and bringing the total world's attention into this. We are people that just, Cameroonians don't even ask for much. This is one of the people that don't ask for much. There are other countries where people they feel like they can ask for things for they claim so many rights. In Cameroon, people don't even ask for much. They just want to survive, just to live. So that is as simple as that. I just believe that we should use our creativity to tell the best stories. Like if Enoh can get a couple of players that are willing to share our stories constantly, we can come up with a production team that can produce these stories and send to these people. We can write letters to Millionaire Messi. We can write letters to Ronaldo. From this kid, let these kids write letters to them. We find a way to get these letters to them. Let them talk about it. Let the whole world see. Because when the whole world sees, even the government does nothing, people will join these fundraising activities we are trying to do and help these other things we are trying to do. And then that way we're gonna emerge from it. The whole rest of the world can help us. If the government doesn't want to help us, we just have to get these stories out there. I think that Cameroon is such a small country that if we can just get a good number of people, influential people to focus, even just through their fundraising and helping us build up the platforms we're trying to build, reopen some schools and do things, man. We can do those things and find a way of creating a new security organization to take care of us. Like, you know, like we have already in many neighborhoods right now, it's the boys of the neighborhood that take care of it. They don't have to be armed. They just have to have a simple job, make sure these kids come to school and go back. We have to work on these little projects, get the international community involved. Even if they cannot influence our government, they can give us the financial support that we need to have these initiatives. If we just genuine on using them properly, we'll see so much progress that this government will have no choice but to be an international shame. And that shame, hopefully one day that shame will get to them and they will just say it's time for us to go, because we don't even want to kill you people. We don't want to lock you up. Just pack your bags and leave. We don't want nothing from you guys. Just leave us alone. That's really where I'm at with this whole thing. Let's go with the stories, tell the world the stories, write letters to Oprah, write letters to everybody we have to write to, use our few celebrities that are willing to help us, get us to tell us how do we get a letter to these people. We send these letters to them, we send these videos to them, let them watch it, and they will say one thing, and they will say, okay, we identify this organization. You guys want to build a library, we'll support you with a library. You guys want to build a computer training center, we'll support you with a computer training center. And we start doing this. And these things, when the whole world comes to our rescue, I think that even us in our hearts will feel that we have been given a second chance and we don't have to lose it. We have to keep those beer bottles down. We have to keep those beer bottles down because there's nothing to celebrate anymore. We have to go out and work.
What you're saying sounds like you're basically asking, of course, the international community can act, but also the people on the ground. And I've seen a communique today from the Stand Up for Cameroon movement that is led by Kawala, asking for, day of action. And I also heard from Fabrice Lena from the PAP party. He was saying the only solution lies in actually getting the Biya regime out of power. I know some of you, you've been very vocal. And do you think that, if you had enough people out on the streets of Yaoundé and Douala demanding for an end to this, and they stay out on the streets for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, 1 week, this will bring this thing to an end. The government will be pressured to at least, because the reason I am talking about the government, let me be clear, is that the government in this instance is the only institution that has power in Cameroon. The separatists cannot call for dialogue. The government can call for dialogue. The separatists cannot negotiate a ceasefire. No matter what they say, they don't actually have any powers. They are just an armed insurrection. The Cameroon government still owns the monopoly of violence over that territory, and they have this. So can the people show enough indignation now, not in the Northwest and Southwest, because it is almost like settling in the same conflict zone, but in the other regions of Cameroon? Can the people in those regions stand out in peaceful, non-violent protest and say enough is enough, we're tired, and that can bring about change? Eyong, I don't know if you want to take a stab at that.
Well, like I said, I'm all for peace, and I'm all for everyone expressing, exactly what they would want to see really change in the country. And at the moment, everything is focused on the English-speaking side of Cameroon, which is because of the incident in Kumba. But don't forget that there are a lot of brothers in the French side who are very vocal. A lot of them have been speaking in different platforms about the situation going on in Cameroon. And I don't think we are coming on this platform to call people to go out and protest. That's not really the purpose of literally why we are here. The purpose why we are here is to talk about what happened in Kumba and what is the way forward. And one of the way forward we are saying is that we need to put our stories out there more. We need to create more awareness. We need to get the voices of people saying about that the crisis has to end. So talking about moving to Yaoundé and Douala, that's something of a whole different another level. And I don't think that's the purpose why we came here. Now, if a few people or a few different politicians decide to do that, to sympathize or to express their own, their own way of mourning and calling on the government because of the situation that happened in Kumba and is going sideways, well, fair enough, then they should do it peacefully. But this platform, which the discussion we're having, should not be a platform where we are coming to call on people in Yaoundé and Douala to go out and protest. No, that's not the purpose why we came here. We came here to talk about the youths. We came here to talk about ourselves. What can we do differently that we have not done before? What are the ideas we can come up with? How can we make difference in ourselves? So let's handle our own responsibility in this side where we are, where the violence is going on, where the people are in fear and the people are in crisis. And you know what, our brothers on the others, which is still Cameroon, if they come up with any initiative, then fair enough. But I don't think that's the main reason why we're on the platform for.
I would like to chime in a little bit here.
Okay. Yeah, Tino.
When it comes to street protests, a massive protest, if we think that that is the way to take Bia out, it is possible if we are willing to sacrifice 900,000 Cameroonians. Because the leeway that he has to kill before the world says, no, this is crazy, it's really long. If we look at other countries, look at Rwanda. Rwanda had to go to almost 1 million people before they realize themselves like, hey, man, you understand? So I think that if we want to go to the street in a massive protest, we should be willing to sacrifice 900,000 Cameroonians, and I'm not sure anybody wants to do that. Now, when it talks about street protests, I believe there are some kind of protests that can work, which should be protests by high-profile people, not protests by regular people in the streets. I believe all big-name Cameroonian artists, they want to do a small protest and go to the Prime Minister's office or go to the Ministry of Defense or go. If those high-profile people can do protests between themselves, just artists, they go and do that. If some politicians from other political parties or other recognizable elites or like chiefs, the chiefs of different villages, they decide that they want to protest, I think those kind of people can go and protest because they have the kind of profiles that people cannot even just say just are vandals. You understand? And then they have to also make sure that this protest, they don't go to the street and have other people join them without understanding what their strategy is. I think we should have those small directed protests which can be directed at particular activities, not a widespread protest. So maybe there's a government meeting that is holding on, they can go and protest at that activity, not just a random street walk without any objective or where we are starting and where we are ending. We can target events, particular events, and have targeted groups which can go to those events and protest at those events. But let's not try to do a massive street protest, especially as I know our young men here, they will be victimized when we go to a massive street protest. They will use them because most of them, I know most of Cameroonian youth are on drugs, on very hard drugs. They will go there to the streets, it will become something else. They will smoke whatever they smoke, and it will become something else, and they will shoot and kill with the innocent people amongst them. So if protests have to be organized, it has to be organized by people of high profile. I think this is the time that the high profile people, and I think that even what the mothers have been doing, I think the mothers can go out, we can say, all right, in this job we're doing, the street walking is only mothers, because I can show those mothers will not go and start breaking things and looting and stealing. That can be their own job. For the other things, community work, me, Enoh, and Daniel, the young guys, that's what we will do. Let's try to delegate this according to how we judge our strengths and our how can I say, opportunity cost, I can say.
Yeah.
So, okay, Daniel.
Sorry, I'd like to contribute into that.
Yes, okay. Yeah, while you're doing that, just make also like your final comments, because we're about 2 hours into this. So.
Oh, okay. Yes, I think with regards to protest, one of the purposes for protest itself is
the rate to actually raise awareness of an issue or what has happened or what's taking place. That's a legitimate purpose for it. Now, I would concur with Tino there that protests easily do get hijacked by hoodlums and become something else that they were not intended to be. So I don't think we want to assert or advise of any protest. What we're doing on this platform right here right now is raising awareness for the international community. We want them to know about what's happening in these regions, and we're going to keep going and keep going to ensure that as much noise is made about it, as much reverb across different groups, whether Cameroons or non-Cameroons, high profiles or no profiles, they would get to know about what's happening within these regions to stop the killings, to end the wars, to end this conflict, so that we don't have any more of these bloodshed that's happening in this territory.
Okay, thank you so much. Eyong, I will be coming to you now. And what final words have you got? And also, a bird squirrel to me that you are a very religious man. So can you give us a final word and also pray for us? I mean, especially for the families of those affected, because we talk about the children who have died, but people seem to forget those who are living, especially their families, the children who missed being killed, the trauma, the PTSD that they're going to go through. It would kill some of them slowly over time because there's no support system in place. So I think we are Christians. Most Cameroonians, at least, are Christians, and Muslims, they believe in God. So is it something you can do for us? Say, give a final word and then offer a word of prayer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kingsley. I just want to extend a strong word of really condolence to all the families and different people who have lost loved ones during this crisis. Especially the recently Kumba incident that has hurt and has hit hard to every one of us, myself really personally. Um, and I really want to say that there is no quick fix solution to what we are going through at the moment. And let no one expect that tomorrow we're going to find a perfect solution. There has to be a lot of patience. People can say we have waited for 4 years, but it's because we try to make things happen quickly. And it is very important to apply wisdom in solving crisis. And when you don't apply wisdom, you will make a lot of mistakes. And that is why I believe that it's also important to pray, to also tap into a lot of spiritual connectivity, because there are many things we can do as humans, but there are certain things we don't have the power over. If we had the power, if men had power, we could have stopped this thing from the moment it started. So I think for those who believe in God, especially in Cameroon, it's important to also get into prayer, but not just any kind of prayer. We have to pray honest prayer. We need to pray sincere prayer. If any one of us in Cameroon believe that they can take the stone and cast it at someone, it means they are pure. But the truth is, none of us in Cameroon is without sin. Each and every one of us have our own skeletons. And as a people and as a nation, we need to repent. We need to repent for the sins of the leaders. We need to repent for the sins, our own sins. We need to repent for our own neglect, things that we didn't do, which we were supposed to do. Each and every one of us is responsible. And I believe that both have to go together, taking actions, taking responsibility, but also we need to engage spiritually and praying and asking for God's divine intervention over the country. It doesn't have to just be one side. So there's a verse of scripture quickly as I pray in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. It says, if my people who are called by my name, they will humble themselves and pray. So prayer is a sign of humility when a people understand that they can't handle certain things. They need to call upon God. Now, God is always ever ready to act, but if we allow him to come in, he will come in. And when we allow him to come in, we need to allow him work. Sometimes we pray, but we want to still do God's work. We need to allow God to do our work, and we do our part. If they can pray, humble themselves and pray, and turn from their wicked ways, he said, then I would hear from heaven, and I will heal their land. Cameroon is a land that needs to be healed. Families are hurting. Mothers are crying. Women are weeping. Children are completely devastated. Those who have passed, those who are alive, the trauma that they are going through. Even our brothers in the bushes who have taken up arms, they too are traumatized. There were things that happened to them that hurt them, that traumatized them and pushed them to this level where they have taken up arms. Even our military, who is taking arms to shoot their own fellow brother Cameroonians, it's unnatural. It is not normal. There is something beyond the normal that has also overshadowed and overtaken such a person, where he will look at another human being and can point a gun and shoot. There is something beyond our human control. And I would just want to ask you, if you're a believer, fine. If you're not a believer, just join us in prayer. If you don't believe in prayer, it's okay. Focus on what you can do to make the difference. But for those who believe in prayer, join me in prayer now in the next few minutes, and let's pray and commit the government. There are still good people in the government, in the midst of all this wickedness, that God can use them, and God can touch them, and God can use them as a beacon of light to be able to do something. I know for many people, they think it's difficult, but it's possible. Nothing is impossible with God. And I also want to pray for our brothers who are in the bushes, who are taking up arms. Many of them are blind. Many of them are deemed deceived. That God will also touch them. Wherever they have been hurting, they are hurting people, hurt other people. Hurting people hurt other people, that God will intervene on their behalf. I want us to pray for the families, for the children that are traumatized, many that have been displaced, many that are so angry and bitter, and their hearts are heavy. Only God can heal the broken heart. Only God can heal the hearts of those. Only him can quench this kind of pain that the nation is going through. And it's not going to be overnight. We ask for God's mercy. We ask for forgiveness, for blood spirit, blood of innocent ones spread all over the place. In our own weaknesses and our own fallacy, we ask for God's mercy. We ask for God's forgiveness over the land, over the nation, over our government and our leadership. And again, we finalize by asking, give us the strength, O Lord, to the youths, to true leaders, the strength and the boldness to stand up for justice, to stand up for righteousness. Give us the wisdom to come up with the right strategy to begin to prepare solutions moving forward, and give us courage to confront evil, and that at the end, good will overcome evil in the nation of Cameroon. Bless Cameroon, bless that nation in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you, Daniel Ta, Eyong Enoh, Norbert Tino. We thank you so much for your wonderful contributions. For our host, Blaise, who, technology had to keep him out. For Commy Mussa, was meant to also be here, but technology did not allow her to contribute. I think it's been very inspiring. It's been a wonderful session. We've learned so much, and we've been inspired. As young people, we have all heard that it's our duty. It's it rests on our shoulders to be able to ensure that peace comes to Cameroon. No one wins in a conflict. You might make any political arguments, but at the end of the day, what happens is that Cameroonians are killing Cameroonians. You might you give yourself whatever appellation. It turns out that you're killing your own brother, and at the end of the day, it will all end on a negotiation table, and we'll look back and question why we did what we did. So we have a duty, each and every one of us. If you are here watching today and you don't have Twitter, create a Twitter account. If you've not shared this video, go to YouTube, share it, far and wide, talk to others so that they can also learn from this message today and carry it. And all the plans that have been put out today, we can be able to use it to promote peace, to ensure that these stories are told continuously, that we shall not relent. Each and every one of us here who has spent 2 hours here today is because you want something to change. And that change cannot come by taking sides and pointing fingers. Those children did not choose a side. they did not deserve to die. And if every one of us is so angry about what has happened, then it is an opportunity for us to take steps to make sure that that does not happen again. So thank you, our panelists, for your wonderful contributions, for the wonderful time you've given us today. And thank you so much for the prayers. May God bless you all and have a great evening. Thank you.
Kingsley, I don't know, before we quickly go,
Right.
for anyone who wants to be part of supporting, in the Delhi Singer Foundation, it's doing something with the families that have really been affected by this. Those in the diaspora, you can get in contact with Delhi Singer Foundation. We are putting something together to stand with the families that have been affected. This is just one of the first steps we are taking. So don't forget about that. We will not only pray, we will not only talk, but we will take actions. So I just wanted to send a quick word about that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Eyong, Enoh, for that. So you just said that you can reach out to Delhi Singer to help the foundation. There are actions being put in place. Like I did say, the families are traumatized. The children, especially the little girl who saw exactly how those people were hurt, those who have watched over social media, especially those within that community, they will suffer from a lot of trauma. And if we can do anything, I mean, there's nothing that is too small to help. You can reach out to the Delhi Singer Foundation and do something. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a great evening. And let's continue to fight and pray for peace in Cameroon. And we shall prevail. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.